The morning of Tuesday, the 11th of February, 2020, unfolded with the usual rhythm outside a primary school in Greater Manchester. Parents, engrossed in their daily rituals, guided their children towards the school gates. Yet, amidst the routine, something lay amiss on the pavement, fleetingly observed by only a discerning few. It was an anomaly that swiftly vanished from sight, its significance hidden beneath the veneer of normalcy. This seemingly innocuous moment would soon unravel a tale of corruption and betrayal, implicating a figure entrenched in the very fabric of law enforcement. The story traces its roots to a fateful night months earlier, on Saturday, the 19th of October, 2019. In the quiet suburb of Milton Keynes, a private birthday celebration was abruptly transformed into a scene of chaos and tragedy. Reports of a violent altercation summoned police officers to the location, where they found two 17-year-old boys, victims of a brutal stabbing. One succumbed to his injuries at the scene, while the other clung to life only to perish later in the sterility of a hospital room. Initially perceived as a targeted attack, the reasons behind this heinous act remembered obscured. The perpetrators vanished into the shadows. Yet, the ramifications of that night would resonate far beyond the immediate grief, entwining with another narrative that, on the surface, seemed entirely unrelated. The threads of these events wove a complex tapestry of violence and deceit, leading inexorably to a single name: Andrew Tolbert. Andrew Tolbert was not just another name on the roster of Greater Manchester Police. As a detective constable, he had carved a niche within the Serious Crime Division, a unit dedicated to dismantling the region's most formidable criminal enterprises. His professional environment was one of high stakes and even higher scrutiny, surrounded by seasoned detectives and specialists focused on dismantling drug cartels and organized crime syndicates. Tolbert's responsibilities granted him rarefied access to the force's property store, a vault of seized evidence and contraband ranging from narcotics and cash to weapons. This repository of illicit goods was governed by stringent protocols, reliant on the integrity and accountability. Yet beneath the surface of duty and trust, a clandestine narrative unfolded. Between the years 2019 and the dawn of 2020, Tolbert's activities within the property store were quietly chronicled. More than 30 times he ventured into this vault of secrets, each visit a step deeper into a moral abyss. The unfolding scandal revealed a man who had manipulated his position for ends that defied the very ethos of justice he had sworn to uphold. The implications of Tolbert's actions extended far beyond the confines of his personal misdeeds, casting a shadow over the integrity of an institution and leaving a trail of devastation in its wake. This tale of corruption and its tragic consequences serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of trust and the profound impact of individual choices on the collective fabric of society. In the quiet corridors of a police precinct, where trust is the backbone of operations, an insidious betrayal was unfolding. On the surface, Officer Andrew Tolbert's presence in the property store seemed mundane, a part of his routine duties. His visits were unchallenged, his movements unremarkable. Yet, beneath this veneer of normalcy lay a meticulously crafted deception, one that exploited the very system designed to uphold justice. The oversight was glaring in its absence. Tolbert, rather than overtly removing entire packages of evidence which could easily raise suspicion, chose a more subtle approach. He tampered with sealed evidence bags, carefully tearing them open, extracting small quantities of cocaine, and then resealing or returning the compromised packages. The drugs, once removed, were discreetly concealed within his clothing as he exited the building, a masterful sleight of hand that went unnoticed by his colleagues. This method of pilfering, though small in scale per incident, was cumulatively significant. Over time, Tolbert was systematically siphoning cocaine from police evidence, drugs that had been confiscated from organized crime syndicates and were meant to be permanently removed from the streets. Yet, unbeknownst to his peers, these substances were being reintroduced into the very communities they were intended to protect. The property store logs, meticulously maintained, showed nothing out of the ordinary, a testament to Tolbert's cunning. He was perceived as a diligent officer, and it was this perception that allowed his actions to continue unchecked. By the time the truth came to light, the magnitude of Tolbert's thefts was staggering. Across numerous visits, he had appropriated just shy of 4 kilograms of cocaine. Each individual removal was small enough to avoid raising alarms, yet together, they constituted a substantial quantity of Class A drugs. In monetary terms, the wholesale value of the cocaine Tolbert pilfered was approximately £240,000. Once broken down and distributed on the streets, its value soared to an estimated £1 million. Drugs that had been painstakingly removed from circulation by law enforcement were now being sold back into the same societal veins they had infected. Tolbert did not personally distribute the cocaine on the streets. That role fell to his most trusted associate, Keith Brethren. Brethren served as the intermediary between Tolbert and the broader narcotics market. Their relationship was not one of mere convenience, but a calculated and financially driven partnership. Brethren, already entrenched in the drug trade, found in Tolbert a source of unparalleled value. The cocaine, originating from police seizures, was of the highest purity, untainted and untraceable to any external supplier. For Brethren, this meant 100% profit, with zero upfront costs. This clandestine operation continued unchallenged, shielded by the trust inherent in police work. The exposure of their scheme did not arise from an internal audit or a routine review, but rather from an unforeseen error, a misstep that Tolbert never anticipated. This mistake would unravel the carefully constructed facade, exposing the corruption that had silently festered within the ranks of those sworn to uphold the law. In the end, the story of Andrew Tolbert and Keith Brethren serves as a stark reminder of the duality of human nature and the fragile line between integrity and corruption. It underscores the necessity of vigilance in the systems we trust and the ever-present potential for darkness within the corridors of power. In the early morning hours of 13th February 2020, a seemingly innocuous school run in Greater Manchester unfolded into a tale of gravity and consequence. Andrew Tolbert stood outside his daughter's primary school, unaware that destiny was about to unravel beneath his feet. As he mingled with other parents, a small package, unnoticed by him, slipped from his clothing and onto the pavement. A package containing cocaine, a Class A drug with a potent grip on society. The incident, though initially trivial in appearance, was not overlooked by the vigilant eyes of the school staff. Recognizing the substance for what it was, they acted promptly, preserving the evidence and alerting the authorities. This unassuming package was the catalyst that would unravel a complex web of corruption and deceit. CCTV footage later revealed Tolbert's presence at the scene, his face familiar to the school community, yet now marked by suspicion. What began as a fortuitous discovery quickly escalated into a matter of grave concern. The case was swiftly escalated to the counter-corruption unit of the Greater Manchester Police, a decision that transformed the investigation into one of profound significance. The involvement of Tolbert, a serving police officer, added layers of complexity and urgency to the unfolding inquiry. As investigators delved deeper, they uncovered a history of clandestine activities that had remained shrouded in secrecy. Tolbert, a detective constable by profession, found himself under the scrutiny of the very institution he had sworn to uphold. The accidental exposure of his illicit activities marked the beginning of an extensive investigation into his past conduct and associations. Merely 4 days after the fateful discovery, on 17th February 2020, the long arm of the law reached out to Tolbert at his workplace, Nexus House. It was here, amidst the familiar environment of his professional duties, that he was apprehended on suspicion of drug offenses. A search of his person revealed further incriminating evidence: cocaine, concealed and ready for distribution. The investigation did not end with Tolbert's arrest. His vehicle, a repository of secrets, yielded more damning evidence. Snap bags typically used in drug distribution, paperwork, and a seemingly innocuous Sainsbury's carrier bag. Each item was a piece of a puzzle that painted a picture of deceit and betrayal. The search extended to Tolbert's residence in Lee, where the narrative took a darker turn. Officers unearthed ammunition, drug paraphernalia, and a trove of items that expanded the investigation's scope. The presence of ammunition, in particular, raised unsettling questions about Tolbert's affiliations and intentions while serving in law enforcement. Digital evidence became a focal point, yet the path to uncovering the truth was obstructed by Tolbert himself. His mobile phone, a potential goldmine of information, was locked behind an incorrect PIN, a deliberate attempt to hinder the investigation. Nonetheless, the relentless pursuit of justice continued, undeterred by such obstacles. In the world of law enforcement, where integrity is paramount, Tolbert's tale is a stark reminder of the thin line between duty and transgression. It is a story of how a moment of carelessness can unravel a meticulously concealed facade, exposing the hidden truths that lie beneath. As the investigation unfolded, it served as a sobering reflection on the fragility of trust and the relentless pursuit of justice in the face of betrayal. In the shadowy corridors of law enforcement, where trust and integrity are the pillars of public service, a dark tale unfolded that challenged the very essence of justice. The investigation into Andrew Tolbert, a once respected detective, unraveled a narrative of betrayal and corruption, steeped in the illegal trade of narcotics and the misuse of power. The discovery began with forensic analysis, a meticulous process that unearthed the trove of digital evidence stored on a memory card. Among the data were incriminating photographs of vast quantities of cocaine, each image a damning testament to Tolbert's involvement in the illicit drug trade. These visual confirmations were not mere suspicions, but concrete evidence, reinforcing the case against him as an orchestrator of organized crime. The investigation, no longer confined to whispers and allegations, expanded into a comprehensive inquiry into the breadth of Tolbert's criminal activities. It became evident that his transgressions were not limited to drug trafficking. Tolbert had systematically abused police computer systems, accessing sensitive intelligence for personal gain, a gross deviation from the system's intended purpose of safeguarding the public. A particularly egregious instance of this misuse involved his association with Keith Brethren, a notorious figure within the criminal underworld. Tolbert conducted targeted intelligence checks to assist Brethren in tracking down individuals linked to a drug debt nearing £20,000. These actions were not the result of idle curiosity, but a calculated effort to arm a criminal enterprise with information that could be wielded as a weapon of intimidation and control. The investigation revealed further layers of misconduct, as Tolbert had manipulated oversight mechanisms designed to ensure accountability. He breached the Regulation of Investigatory Powers Act, unlawfully accessing communications data, a clear violation of the trust placed in him as a protector of the law. The culmination of these revelations led to a dramatic courtroom showdown at Liverpool Crown Court. The proceedings laid bare the full scope of Tolbert's betrayal. He faced a litany of charges: conspiracy to supply Class A drugs, misconduct in public office, misuse of police systems, and unlawful access to communications data. His co-conspirator, Keith Brethren, stood alongside him, his role as the distributor of stolen cocaine central to the case. Brethren's guilty pleas acknowledged his complicity and financial enrichment from the illicit trade facilitated by Tolbert's corruption. As the wheels of justice turned, the consequences for Tolbert were profound. His career in law enforcement, once a symbol of duty and honor, was irreparably tarnished. In August of 2024, Greater Manchester Police formally dismissed him, severing his ties with the force. During sentencing, the judge delivered a withering critique of Tolbert's actions, underscoring the gravity of his betrayal. In reflecting upon this saga, one is reminded of the delicate balance upon which justice rests. The narrative of Andrew Tolbert is a stark reminder of the capacity for corruption to infiltrate even the most trusted institutions. Yet, it is also a testament to the relentless pursuit of truth and accountability, a reaffirmation that justice, though sometimes obscured, ultimately prevails. The courtroom's somber atmosphere was a stark contrast to the gravity of the revelations unfolding within its walls. An oath, once sworn to uphold justice, lay in ruins, betrayed by the very hands that had pledged allegiance to it. Andrew Tolbert, a figure once entrusted with the sanctity of law, now stood as a symbol of its betrayal. Driven by the insidious lure of greed, his actions reverberated far beyond the confines of individual investigations, casting a shadow over the integrity of the entire criminal justice system. The court, unyielding in its pursuit of truth, unveiled the extent of Tolbert's financial gains, amassed through illicit dealings. An examination under the Proceeds of Crime Act sought to quantify the spoils of his betrayal. Meticulous calculations by investigators shed light on the monetary value of the drugs trafficked and the subsequent financial advantage reaped. The court decreed a confiscation order, demanding restitution for the ill-gotten gains. In the cold language of justice, the court determined that Tolbert had profited by £179,372 from his nefarious activities. Yet, the decree was clear. He was to repay £75,420. A deadline was established, a countdown ticking inexorably towards further retribution should compliance falter. Failure to meet this demand would result in an additional 2 years of incarceration, a stern reminder that the pursuit of profit through crime carries enduring consequences. As the gavel fell, marking the conclusion of the trial, Tolbert's once respected role lay in tatters. His sentence of 19 years' imprisonment was a testament to the severity of his transgressions. Alongside him, Keith Brethren, an accomplice in crime, faced the weight of justice with an 8-year and 6-month sentence. The conclusion of this trial, however, marked not an end, but a segue into another tale of tragedy. In a different realm, far removed from the machinations of crime, 2 young lives intertwined in a narrative of friendship and untimely loss. Dom Answer and Ben Gillenrice, bound by a friendship forged in the innocence of childhood, traversed the journey of life side by side. From their first meeting at the tender age of 4, their lives were a tapestry woven with shared experiences and unyielding camaraderie. The families of Dom and Ben painted a portrait of inseparability, a bond transcending mere friendship. As they navigated the turbulent waters of adolescence, their paths remained intertwined, their lives intricately connected. At 17, both young men were deeply enmeshed within the fabric of their families and social circles. Ben, with his easygoing nature and infectious humor, was a beacon of light in any gathering. A fervent supporter of Tottenham Hotspur, he found joy in the camaraderie of sports, whether spectating or participating. His recent foray into the construction industry, working alongside his father, marked the beginning of a promising career path. Dom, vibrant and full of life, exuded an energy that was contagious. His love for basketball was matched only by his expansive social circle. A central figure in his family, he shared a particularly close bond with his twin sister, Holly. Their shared experiences at Oxley Park Academy and later Hazley Academy were a testament to a friendship capable of weathering the vicissitudes of adolescence. Yet, despite the strength of their bond, the unrelenting march of time and fate would lead them to a tragic end. Their lives, once filled with promise and potential, serve as a poignant reminder of the fragility of existence. In the wake of their story, we are left to ponder the delicate balance of justice and the profound impact of relationships that define our lives. Beneath the surface, to a boiling point of violence that would spill over into the night of the party. As the twilight descended upon Emerson Valley, the air was thick with an unspoken tension, a feeling that seemed to precede the storm. The birthday gathering at Archford Croft unfolded under the guise of normalcy, a celebration of youth, yet unbeknownst to the revelers, the seeds of conflict had already been sown. The house, nestled in a quiet suburban enclave of Milton Keynes, was alive with the sounds of laughter, music, and the carefree chatter of teenagers. Yet, unbeknownst to them, their sanctuary was about to be breached. Dom Answer and Ben Gillum Rice, friends since their formative years, arrived at the party with the innocence of youth, unaware of the brewing storm. Their lives intertwined with the fabric of this community, their friendship a testament to the bonds that often form in such close-knit environments. But on this night, the shadows of a darker narrative loomed large, one that would soon unravel with devastating consequences. The city of Milton Keynes had been quietly simmering with a feud that stretched beyond mere teenage rivalry. It was a conflict that had grown roots in the urban landscape, nurtured by a history of altercations, territorial skirmishes, and festering grievances. Two factions, known as the B3 and M4 gangs, had emerged, each claiming their dominion over different parts of the town. Their existence was a reality known to law enforcement, a volatile mix of youth and discontent that threatened the fragile peace. The animosity between these groups was not born overnight. It was a tapestry woven from the threads of past encounters, each skirmish adding fuel to an already raging fire. Among these events, one stood out: a brutal attack on Ben Potter, a member of the B3 gang, who had been lured into the secluded woods of Milton Keynes. There, he was assaulted and humiliated, his ordeal captured on film and disseminated through the digital corridors of social media. The footage, a testament to the cruelty of youth, became a rallying cry for vengeance. The name Dom Ansar surfaced, whispered among the shadows as being complicit in the event that had left Potter scarred. It was a claim that would set in motion a chain of events, a domino effect that would bring the simmering feud to a head. For the B3 gang, it was an affront that could not go unanswered, an insult that demanded retribution. The whispers of revenge grew louder, echoing through the alleys and streets of Milton Keynes, as plans were laid and intentions hardened. As the night of the party unfolded, those uninvited began to converge upon Emerson Valley, drawn by the allure of settling scores. The atmosphere, once vibrant with celebration, began to shift, the air charged with an undercurrent of impending conflict. Within the confines of Archford Croft, the laughter of youth mingled with the tension of a coming storm, a prelude to the violence that would soon erupt. In the quiet moments before chaos descended, The partygoers remained blissfully unaware of the danger creeping ever closer. Yet, outside, the forces of discord gathered, intent on turning a night of innocence into one of reckonile. Peace that often exists within the shadows of suburban life. And so, as the night wore on, the stage was set for a confrontation that would echo through the corridors of memory, a testament to the destructive power of unchecked resentment and the perilous path of vengeance. In the end, the party in Emerson Valley would become more than a mere gathering. It would be a crucible where the innocence of youth collided with the harsh realities of a world divided by conflict and consumed by its own shadows. In the shadowy depths of a chill October night in 2019, a meticulously planned act of violence unfolded, orchestrated by the notorious B3 gang. The names Charlie Chandler, Clayton Barker, Earl Bevins, Ben Potter, and Jamie Chandler would soon become synonymous with a dark chapter in the annals of crime. These men did not arrive at their destination by chance. Their journey was a calculated descent into chaos. The plan commenced with the arrangement of a taxi, which ferried them from the quiet streets of West Bletchley, across the urban sprawl of Milton Keynes, and into the suburban enclave of Emerson Valley. This was no ordinary ride. It was a prelude to an orchestrated assault, each moment ticking towards inevitable violence. The men were armed for the occasion. Knives and a machete, carefully concealed, lay ready to fulfill their grim purpose. Masks and garments to obscure their identities were not hastily considered afterthoughts. They were deliberate choices, emblematic of their resolve. Law enforcement would later characterize this as a textbook case of premeditation. Their intent was not to engage in a mere confrontation, but to execute a brutal and unforgiving attack. As the taxi came to a halt outside Archford Croft, just past the stroke of midnight, the die was cast. There was no room for hesitation or retreat. The scene was set for a night of terror. Upon arrival, the group split with military precision. Most of the attackers swiftly moved to the rear of the property, exploiting the back entrance to gain entry. Simultaneously, one individual stationed himself at the front door, a sentry with a singular mission: to deny escape to those within. As they breached the sanctuary of the house, the very air seemed to shift, charged with impending violence. Inside, the attackers were surgical in their movements, targeting male guests with an almost predatory focus. Witnesses would later recall the swift transition from a gathering to a scene of panic and mayhem. The realization that this was no mere quarrel, but a coordinated assault, dawned quickly. Guests scattered in desperation, seeking refuge in bedrooms or risking escape through windows and over garden fences. Caught in this maelstrom were Dom Answer and Ben Gillum Rice. The attack was a whirlwind, too rapid for intervention, too fierce for mercy. In the living room, Ben confronted the assailants head-on. The violence was unrelenting and decisive. He was stabbed 6 times, a fatal wound piercing his chest. The brutality was such that it left him critically wounded within mere seconds. Amidst the chaos, there was no time for rescue or reprieve before the attackers vanished into the night. Dom Answer, however, initially eluded capture. As the invasion swept through the household, he surged through the throng, bursting into the open air, seeking refuge in the anonymity of the street. His flight was a desperate bid for survival, a testament to the primal instinct to flee from danger. The aftermath of that night was a tapestry of shattered peace, lives irrevocably altered, and a community left grappling with the specter of violence. The calculated nature of the attack underscored a chilling truth: that beneath the veneer of everyday life, there lurks the potential for orchestrated malevolence. In the end, This story serves as a stark reminder of the fragility of safety and the ever-present shadow of human intent. In the hushed serenity of a typical suburban neighborhood, a night of unspeakable horror unfolded, leaving an indelible mark on the community. The tranquility of Emerson Valley, a place where the mundane rhythm of daily life rarely skipped a beat, was shattered by a cacophony of violence that echoed through its quiet streets. At the heart of this tragedy was a young man named Dom, whose fleeting hope of escape was extinguished in a moment of chaos. Witnesses would later recount the haunting sequence of events: the frantic shouting, the pounding footsteps, and the piercing screams that seemed to stretch into eternity. The pursuit was relentless, and in the cloak of darkness, Dom's desperate flight was abruptly halted as he stumbled and fell, a moment that would seal his fate. The attackers, driven by a malevolent fury, descended upon him with a brutality that defied comprehension. The assault was not a mere act of violence. It was a savage onslaught, leaving Dom with 47 distinct wounds, the majority inflicted by the cold steel of a machete. The courtroom would later hear the harrowing details, describing the attack as a frenzied and prolonged assault, far surpassing the threshold required to incapacitate any human being. By the time his assailants vanished into the night, Dom lay critically injured on the street, his life ebbing away. Emergency responders arrived swiftly, their sirens piercing the night as paramedics and armed police converged on the scene. Yet, despite their rapid response, the injuries inflicted upon Dom were beyond mortal repair. He was whisked away to the hospital, where medical teams battled valiantly to save him. His family, gripped by a mixture of hope and dread, rushed to his side. Yet, despite their collective prayers and the best efforts of medical professionals, Dom Answer succumbed to his injuries, leaving this world surrounded by those who loved him. The living room where the attack commenced bore the grisly evidence of the violence that transpired. Blood spattered across the floor and walls, a visceral testament to the horror that had unfolded. It was immediately apparent to investigating officers that this was no ordinary altercation, but a calculated and sustained assault. As dawn broke over Milton Keynes, the community awoke to a grim reality. The police embarked on an urgent mission to unravel the complex web of events, messages, and decisions that culminated in that fateful night. Dom Answer and Ben Galem Rice were not the only victims. 2 other teenagers bore the scars of that night, both physical and psychological. Ryan Brown, caught in the maelstrom of violence, suffered severe injuries yet managed to survive. Another 17-year-old boy also bore the brunt of the attacker's wrath, his life forever altered by the trauma inflicted upon him. Both would later stand as witnesses, recounting the chaos and terror of that night. For those who survived, the violence was a disorienting nightmare, an abrupt descent into a world they had never imagined. Young partygoers, thrust into a reality of bloodshed and fear, grappled with the shock and disbelief of what they had witnessed. Some, in those terrifying moments, feared they would not live to see another day. The repercussions of that night rippled through the community, transforming Emerson Valley into a landscape of grief and fear. The once peaceful streets became a sprawling crime scene, cordoned off by police tape and patrolled by armed officers and forensic teams. For days, the neighborhood lay under the shadow of the investigation, a stark reminder of the fragility of safety and the ever-present specter of violence. In the aftermath, as the shock began to subside, detectives faced the daunting task of uncovering the truth. The events of that night were not just an assault on individuals, but an attack on the very fabric of communal trust and security. In piecing together the narrative of that night, they sought not only justice for the victims, but a restoration of peace for a community left reeling in the wake of tragedy. And as the investigation unfolded, it became a poignant reminder of the delicate balance between the ordinary and the extraordinary, the mundane and the momentous, in the tapestry of human existence. The meticulous planning of the attack and the seamless movement of the perpetrators through the city without interception painted a chilling portrait of premeditation. Within mere hours of the tragic event, the Thames Valley Police Major Crime Unit initiated an intensive double murder investigation. From the very beginning, law enforcement approached the incident not as a spontaneous altercation, but as a calculated assault. The sheer magnitude of the violence, the deliberate use of weapons, and the synchronized ingress into the residence all pointed unmistakably to a coordinated group effort. The first significant breakthrough emerged directly from the crime scene. Investigators meticulously gathered forensic evidence within the house and in the surrounding vicinity. They discovered blood traces, distinctive footwear impressions, and damage consistent with the use of bladed weapons. Surveillance footage from nearby roads and residential areas was secured with urgency, providing detectives with a means to track the movement of vehicles both preceding and succeeding the attack. Among the vehicles scrutinized, one taxi emerged as a focal point of the investigation. Taxi records revealed a booking from West Bletchley to Emerson Valley shortly before the stroke of midnight. Surveillance footage, coupled with automatic number plate recognition (ANPR) data, confirmed the taxi's presence near Archford Croft at the pertinent time. This critical piece of information enabled investigators to narrow their focus to a specific group, transforming their search from a blind pursuit into a targeted investigation. Witneport of family liaison and safeguarding officers conducted persistent interviews that gradually coaxed descriptions of the masked assailants from those present. Several witnesses independently recounted seeing one attacker securing the front door, while others infiltrated the premises from the rear. A detail corroborated by the precise timing captured on CCTV. As the investigation progressed, digital evidence began to weave a web connecting individuals to their actions. Mobile phone data positioned all 5 suspects together prior to the attack, their movements across Milton Keynes mirroring the taxi's trajectory as confirmed by cell site analysis. With the accumulation of evidence, arrests were made in phases. Some suspects were initially detained and subsequently released pending further investigation, while others were rearrested as the case against them solidified through corroborative phone data, CCTV footage, and witness accounts. As legal constraints permitted, the police publicly disclosed the identities of individuals sought in connection with the attack, signaling their belief in the involvement of multiple parties. Throughout the inquiry, Detective Chief Superintendent Edwards and Chief Inspector Hunter consistently cautioned that anyone withholding information or aiding the suspects faced potential prosecution. To thwart further violence and recover weapons, Section 60 stop and search powers were authorized across sections of Milton Keynes. The culmination of the investigation transitioned from the relentless pursuit of truth to the solemn halls of justice, as the focus shifted to accountability within the courtroom. At Luton Crown Court, 5 defendants stood accused, each facing the gravity of their actions laid bare for all to see. Here, every movement, message, and decision would be scrutinized with unwavering precision, as the wheels of justice turned inexorably towards a final resolution. In the courtroom's hallowed silence, the intricate tapestry of human choices and consequences unfolded, reminding us of the profound impact of our actions and the unyielding pursuit of truth and justice. In the solemn confines of a courtroom, the gravity of human actions was laid bare, as the dual killings were meticulously dissected. Over the course of several weeks, the jury was immersed in the intricate tapestry of facts and evidence, painstakingly unraveling the sequence of events that culminated in tragedy. The defense sought to extricate individual defendants from the shadow of collective culpability, emphasizing varied degrees of involvement and intent. Yet, the prosecution remained steadfast, asserting that the moment the group embarked armed and masked, they embraced the inevitability of violence, thus sharing the mantle of responsibility. The jury, after careful deliberation, reached a somber conclusion, returning verdicts of guilt. Charlie Chandler, Clayton Barker, Ben Potter, Jamie Chandler, and Earl Beavens were each found guilty of murder and wounding with intent. For the bereaved families, the court's decision offered no solace. Tracy Answer, Dom's mother, poignantly recalled the agonizing hours spent at her son's bedside, clinging to hope for his survival. Meanwhile, Jason Rice and Suzanne Gillum, parents to Ben, recounted the harrowing moment they received the news of their son's death, a moment that carved an indelible void within their lives. The families, though acknowledging the accountability that the convictions represented, found no closure in the verdicts. Their calls echoed through the halls of justice, urging for stricter penalties for knife-related crimes and advocating for proactive measures to steer the youth away from the perilous path of gang violence. The sentences rendered were severe, with Clayton Barker receiving the harshest punishment, a life sentence with a minimum term of 28 years. Charlie Chandler and Earl Beavens were each sentenced to life with a minimum of 27 years. Ben Potter and Jamie Chandler, the youngest of the convicted, were also consigned to life sentences, each with a minimum term of 22 years. The courtroom's decisions, while providing a semblance of justice, underscore the complex interplay of choice and consequence, leaving in their wake a profound reflection on the societal fabric that binds and sometimes unravels us.